I think we're live.
Hope so.
I hope we're live. If there's anybody out there watching, talk back to us, say hi so that we know you're there and that you're live. It looks like there's like 4 people watching, which is cool. Like that's 3 more than we thought we were going to get.
Hi, Julie.
Hey, so this is Brant from the Dragoons. What's up, Tolstoy? So this is Brant from the Dragoons. We've got Jim from the monomaniacally named Dietz Foundation.
If you're going to have a company, name it after yourself.
Why not? And so, yeah, we're, yes, it is the nice jersey. There we go. Incidentally, I don't have the hockey game on in here anywhere. Somebody tell me if the Canes managed to like tie it up, please. Howdy, Royce. So, the plan all along was for Jim to bring my copy of Littoral Commander here to GAMA Expo. We are in Reno. It is overly sunny Reno at the moment because the sun's coming in the side of the room here and killing us. And we figured while it was here, let's do an unboxing, and not just any old unboxing. We were going to do a live one. Why? Because we could. And they gave us this cool studio space upstairs at GAMA Expo for the media folks like me to, be able to goof off with here. And so that's what we're doing. So we're going to see how well this works. And we're gonna try this out. What do you think, Jim?
I'm good for anything.
Yeah, we're gonna see how well this works. And so here we go. There is our copy of Littoral Commander Indo-Pacific right there. I'd say it's hot off the press, but it cooled off in customs for a couple of weeks.
It sat in the customs house there for at least a week while I'm sitting there going, come on, get here. And now it's here.
And now it is here. So these are the production copies. Some of you have seen some of the photos that Sebastian has shared through Twitter, through other social media. And in those cases, you saw like a block game, and these are not blocks, but that's okay. Like we've still got the game. So not necessarily blocks. Y'all give me half a second here. I just realized that like we never sent out the link to the show to everybody that, hey, we're actually live. Yeah, because I'm a schmuck. I'm sorry. So you guys are going to watch me like type on the computer while we're broadcasting through the computer here for just a second. So apologies. Yeah, I'm having one of them kind of days. Jim, while I'm doing this, why don't you like stare at the green light up there and tell folks how your day went today, given that the exhibit hall was all about you trying to hype up retailers for ordering your games?
Actually, it's just a good day in general. I just like talking to retailers, talk to a couple distributors. The actual surprising thing, since we're here to talk about Littoral Commander, is that people come and try to pick it up, and we had one have to go to the hospital due to a hernia. They did not stretch properly before lifting it, did not use their back because, man, it's not a light box. So,
yeah,
that's the story of the day.
Trying to do this whole give us our video thing. We're like echoing on ourselves. And so I apologize, people. I'm just not doing this real well. There we go. All right. So we need to like send out notice of the fact that we're live.
Without a net. Not just, Annette is not here. No, she is somewhere else in the building. I was thinking the Van Halen album.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. That too. So for folks that don't know, like the reason Jim and I are in the same room, we are at the GAMA Expo in Reno, Nevada, and where things like Origins, Gen Con, Buckeye Game Fest, which is going on right now. Howdy, Buckeyes. Those are all very consumer and game player focused conventions. This expo is much more retailer focused. And so that's where guys like Jim, publishers, game producers, game manufacturers take the time to show their stuff to the retailers so that the retailers can be placing orders well enough in advance to allow for some production, some shipping, some getting things to people so that so that they can stock their stores and you can buy this from your local game store. A big chunk of the audience here at the GAMA Expo are those retailers. So we've got a whole bunch of those folks here. So it looks like, hey, we're all the way up to 5. We've gone up 20% on our viewership.
I'm excited.
So howdy, Achilles. Howdy, Miss Julie. And So thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all being here. So we've got the game. We're going to take a look at the game. So we'll flip it over. There's your back of the box info. And so game's got 4 maps in it. We're going to pull them out, take a look here in a second. We got a couple decks of cards, a whole lot of counters. It's a bunch of 20-sided dice. Why 20-sided dice?
Originally, Sebastian wanted 16-siders, and they're not as cheap as 20-siders, so I forced him to go with D20s for the percentage effect.
I don't suppose you're willing to answer why 16-sided dice, are you?
I believe it's because Sebastian found them in a store and thought they were really cool and decided to go with 16-siders.
I mean, that's as good a reason as any, but okay, Sebastian, what the hell, man? 16-sided dice? Jeez. All right, here we go. We're cracking shrink. We can't do this with a pocket knife. We're not allowed to bring them on the plane, so I got to use a thumbnail to do this. All right, here we go. We're tearing into some shrink on Littoral Commander.
And this is Brant's personal copy here. So
yeah, so I'm going to try not to spill anything on it. All right, let's get the shrink wrap out of the way. Here we go. For those of you wondering, the high-tech overhead camera thingy right there is actually a cell phone clipped up to a tripod looking down at us from a cocktail table. Go figure. But it gives us a good overhead to take a look at the box. When we said we were winging this, we weren't kidding. So yeah, here we go. We're going to go through this layer by layer and see what we got. So what do we got right here on top, Jim?
This
is
the rule book.
All right. Always. I mean, who needs a rule book? Really? Do we? I guess so.
Yeah. I would tell you what I really appreciate about it, beyond the fact that we put it in color, is that Sebastian made sure as we went through it that stuff like the unit descriptions are in big print, and that there's a lot of play descriptions, so there shouldn't be too much confusion with how to play the game. It's in plain English, because this is meant for commercial as well as military use. A lot of the acronyms have been removed and replaced with normal American English.
Sure. So Royce, I see the question pop up about, what do we mean though there's no blocks? This version does not have the blocks that all of those custom homemade Sebastian made them on his kitchen counter kind of copies have. So this is not the block version. You'll see when we get down into the box, there's some counters in here. So we're going to get to that here in just a second. All right. So we got a rule book. We got us a scenario book. And as we flip through said scenario book, I probably ought to keep this pointed at the camera. Again, it's just telling you basic layout of what maps, what order of battle you got. This is not as lavishly illustrated. Doesn't necessarily need to be, but it's telling you what the different pieces and parts you need for the game are. And crucially, which maps to use, and that matters because there's a couple of them in here. So we're going to get that off out of the way. All right, here comes some maps. So here's what we need to do. Jim, let's slide the box out of the way. And we're going to show off. So we've got 3 maps. Yes, they look like the same dude that did the Titan map or the Revolt on Antares map. They are very colorful. All right. So where'd we go? There's our Luzon Strait. And so this one is kind of the important one because this was the genesis of the whole game, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was the first one and would have been the only one in the game. And then I made a comment to Sebastian, hey, do we have other maps? He's like, oh, it'd be too expensive. I'm a publisher, so I'll decide what's too expensive. He's like, well, yeah, then I got other maps. And so that's how we wound up with 4 in the game.
So there we go. So you've got an influence meter down at the bottom. You've got some different Western and Eastern naval positions, and then some terrain effects chart info at the bottom. And then you've got your actual terrain here on the Luzon Peninsula, and then the Philippine Sea around there. So you have some outlying islands. This is a very peninsular focused sort of scenario map. But we've got a couple of other maps. We're going to pop those open and take a look at them while we're at it. All right, we'll let you fold. I will unfold, so I will make the mess while he cleans it up. So a great team here. Assault on the microphone. Okay. Mike, we can't hear the audio on these things, so you're going to have to tell us if it's like completely crapped out. We're hoping that it's not too bad, but all we can hear are ourselves just talking in here. So if there's something really going just bat crap crazy on the audio, y'all need to chime in and we'll try to fix it, but I'm not 100% sure how much we've got for latitude to do that. So show the wizard. All right, sorry guys. I'll try to be a little more careful about folding the map around and flipping it around. This is the Taiwan Strait, as you can see by the big labeling right there in the middle. And so we've got Taiwan very close to the Chinese mainland over here. And again, the stuff in the margins, it's the normal stuff in the margin. We got a turn tracker down at the end facing us. We already showed you guys that influence meter in those western and eastern naval positions at the other end of the map.
All of the maps at the bottom also have like the terrain chart, all of the maps, so that you know what the colors are and the terrain.
Yep.
So you don't have to memorize them.
And they are going to be slightly different from map to map. That's what you would expect. So, all right, let's go ahead and get Taiwan out of the way. We'll try and fold and unfold quietly so that we don't drive Mike crazy. Sorry, Mike. Not trying to do it to you. Okay, I'm going to mispronounce the name on this map, Jen. Help me out here.
Is this Okinawa?
Well, it says.
Ryukyu?
Is that it?
I think it's Ryukyu.
Okay, we'll hope that that's something close to right and not terribly embarrassing. But yeah, we've got Okinawa Islands in here, East China Sea, Philippine Sea. So again, this is some of those outlying belts of islands around China. Again, we are in the Indo-Pacific, and so that's sort of where we are. This one, obviously, heavy naval scenarios, not a lot of land to work on. Perfectly good place to work on your TAN, but I don't know that that's actually a mission in the scenario book.
I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe it should.
There was going to be scenario 7, and we cut it to 6 for space.
Okay, gotcha. All right, and then our last map, this is the Malacca Strait. And you and I were talking about this one earlier when we were looking through the other open copy that we had.
Yeah, this is the knife fight in a phone box.
The knife fight in a phone booth, yeah. So that's the description you often hear people use for Cuba Libre of the coin games, is the knife fight in a phone booth. So this one, you'll notice, very tight fits through the strait here. Even this one's not a huge... I'm pointing off camera here. Let me scoot this down. Even this one's not all that terribly huge in here. Guy says our high-tech overhead camera thingy crapped out on us that it's not actually moving. Let's see what we've got for some comments in here. We're not necessarily banging something with the map. So there's a tablecloth at that end of the camera. And I think our camera has kind of crapped out on us. Let me go take a look.
It does appear to look that way.
It does appear
We're not moving.
To have crapped the bed on us. So
I also note here, Brant, that you don't have like the Muzak and the please stand by technical difficulties overlay like we should have for TV. So
yeah, I think we might have just overheated our camera.
It's warm in here.
Here's what we're going to do. Yeah, it is unnecessarily warm in here. All right, so we've turned off the high-tech overhead camera thingy. We're going to let Jim hum you guys a song for a moment.
Oh,
I go check
no, it's that was banned. That's a United Nations convention. I'm not permitted to perform music in any setting whatsoever. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
It falls in the War Crime Convention, I believe.
Yeah.
1984, I think, was the year of it.
I was in 6th grade, dude.
Yeah, okay.
I'll take your word for it. Okay, so here's what's happened, guys. Our high-tech overhead camera thingy has decided to say, yeah, enough. I'm good. I'm going to turn off for a moment. So we're going to come back to the high-tech overhead camera thingy in a minute. In the meantime, we'll just hold stuff up in front of the camera because that's going to be a lot easier now that we're done with the maps, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, so we'll get our maps out of our way here. Again, we were totally winging this, guys. We did warn y'all that we were totally fast. Okay, so Royce, yeah, 720p may not be seeing the lighter. See, Gary's smart enough to know how to change those things, and I'm not. So
I'm a Luddite, so don't look at me.
Yeah. All right. So taking a look at, we're getting some of the components out of the box over here. One of the things we've got, that stack of D20s that we did warn you about. So there's 5 each for red and blue. They're 20s, not 16s. So we've got some 20s there. All right. Hardcore hex encounter grogs. Plug your ears, cover your eyes. We're warning you now. Everybody good? All right. There are blocks. We've got Joker colors. So the purple and green. Sorry about the glare off of the plastic bags. We've got Soviet colors, very Soviet red, orange, gray. Again, sorry about the glare off the bags. These are just black. Just trust me, they're black. They're there. And then the blue ones include some discs. So yeah, we're getting totally Eurogamey here, guys. Hardcore hex encounter people, you'll have to get over it. I'm just letting y'all know.
Yeah, I'll play the good cop here. Or like when you look at the unit tracking things here, and you can't, well, you know what, let's grab one with a different color maybe. Oh yeah, here we go, different colors. So that when you look at this, they've got different colors on them. In this case, red, black, and purple. Rather than have everybody write down the ammunition their units have and keep track of that on paper or add counters, we have the unit trackers. So all of the wood bits are used so that you can have all the logistics in front of you rather than constantly erasing and writing stuff down. We made it easier so that you have a better time shooting stuff rather than dealing with paperwork.
Yeah. So the high-tech overhead camera thingy crapped out due to excessive heat, which is not hard to believe in this room. I may crap out due to excessive heat. Jim's wearing short sleeves. I'm wearing a hockey jersey.
And it's warm.
It is. It's very warm.
I mean, you can see me glistening here on my head full of hair.
Yeah. We can see snow on the mountains out the window, and it is hot in this room. Okay, what do we got next here, Jim?
Would you like to open up the actual units?
Sure. Let's take a look at some actual units here. Peel off some plastic. Try and peel off some plastic.
There's actually a unit marker or sheet for every unit that's included in the game.
All right. So we're just going to hold a couple of these up and sort of flip our way through a little bit. I'm trying to straighten these out. There we go. All right. So we've got a DDG. We've got, what do we got behind it? There's an LNG or an LHD. There's another LHD. So these are your different naval units, and they're the red ones, right? So we all know who we're looking at here. What else we got? So there is the logistics platoon. So you got the picture of the counter as well as all the tracking information to be able to throw this on the side of the table and keep up with what you're doing. I'm going to flip back a little further because I want to find some stuff that actually.
Would you like a light tank platoon?
Yeah, we'll get there. Give me half a second. Okay, so the amphibious reconnaissance platoon. There you go. They reconnaissance amphibious things. There we are. All right, what do we got next there, Jim?
Oh, we've got more units for the red team.
Woohoo! All right, so we've got a light tank platoon, which implies the existence of a dark tank platoon. There is the artillery section of self-propelled howitzers. We may have some goat-propelled howitzers, not really sure. There's the air defense platoon. So again, you've got the counter image, so you know what you're lining up with, and then you've got all the different tracking. That's where your cubes go to be able to keep up with the things that are happening with those units while they're in the game.
One of the things with the cards that you can't really see on screen is like up on the top, it says attachments. Units, you have cards that we'll get to here in a minute that can have special weapons and I'll call it powers attached to them. So that's where they would be listed so that it's easy to track and know which unit has what capabilities. Capabilities. That's the word I was looking for, not powers. Powers would be superheroes.
Yeah.
Speaking of superheroes,
you got the Marines?
The Marines.
All right. Well, I'll let you bag those back up. And so, again, one of the things that's important to remember about this game, this one is not present day today. This is near future. Again, it's built around the Marine Corps concept of Force Design 3030, which is looking into the future, or 2030, that's looking into the future. And so these scenarios really are taking place a couple of years after that, but the earliest they would be taking place is 2030. So there are some capabilities you're going to see that don't yet exist in the force, like the MRIC section, the medium range interceptor capability section. So this is one of those kinds of units that doesn't exist yet, but is on its way. So, hey, Gary, how you doing? We've got another DDG X. So again, the DDG X program is just now ramping up. There's like one of them undergoing sea trials. I don't think these things have all been that fielded that far. We got a HIMARS section. I'm not sure the Marines have fielded the HIMARS yet. We're just now rolling them out everywhere else. The Ukrainians seem to be doing okay with them. But these are some of the different Marine capabilities. So I'm trying to find something a little different that we can throw up in here. We got a lot of, what we got in the other bag?
Oh, we got more units.
Yeah, I know. And I know there's no tanks,
and
right?
We've got decks of cards.
Yeah, we're going to get to the decks of cards here in a second. I was just looking for some different kinds of units because this is a lot of MRICs and HIMARS. There's an Early Burt class DDG, so different kind of destroyer.
Hey, can you put that up for again?
Oh, boy.
Just so you guys know, when you're playing it, we did try and take into account things like color blindness, so that even though red and purple are very close, you'll see that the capabilities of the ship have two different shapes to them. so that all of the cards, we've tried to take that into account with shapes and sizes of things as much as anything else. And while he's got the old Arley up there, for the capabilities, the game's pretty simple. You can see on the ship, it's got a big number and a small number. You roll a D20. If you roll under that big number, you hit. And the small number next to it, that's how far away it can shoot. Okay, there's the combat in the game. Every time you roll a D20, move your ammunition down to 1. If you don't have any ammo, you don't fire.
You know, we were just supposed to be unboxing, not teaching how to play.
Oh, my bad. Sorry about that. Sorry.
All right.
But Sebastian was talking to me. He wanted a how to play video. How can I turn Sebastian down?
I hope this wasn't what he had in mind.
Yeah, it's Sebastian.
It's true. He's not even watching. He can't complain.
Loser.
Yeah. All right.
Would you like to go to the small cards, or would you want to go through?
Nah. What do we got with the small cards? There's another pack of the big blue cards. We'll get.
We have the PLA's deck of many things.
The deck of many things. All right. So again,
one of those decks actually.
Yeah.
There
Red tells you who they belong to. And these are your different capabilities that you can implement throughout the game. And you can see they are color coded. So we got a variety of different capabilities here. So the first one on top, we've got a tactical network. And so this goes back to what are some of the features that you can do within the game. There's going to be a numerical value. There's some iconography on here. The color coding tells you sort of what type of capability this is. And so this one is, this affects all friendly LRS and intercept values, including, and so it goes through, you said there were no acronyms. There's a JCC on here.
Oh, yeah, we define it somewhere.
All right, sure. Anyhow, so there's a little bit of flavor text on the bottom. So it gives you game capability in the gray, flavor text on the bottom on the white. And these are the kinds of cards that you're going to play throughout the game that, again, you're not going to go through the whole deck. And again, this is only half the deck because there's the rest of the red deck. But this is part of what bumps up your replayability. So you can either customize particular capabilities if there's something in particular you want to explore in the sandbox, or you can just randomize everything and you get what you get, whether it's combat air patrols or the maritime militia, right? All those fishing boats that start getting in everybody's way. I got to remember like which way to point these things. There's the long sword missile. Go ahead, make your jokes. Come on, guys. Don't let us down. All right. What else we got in here? We got some space satellites. There's the tactical cyber defenses. And then everybody's favorite, the social media exploitation, which of course is what we are doing right now this second. All right. Those are what we've got, just a smattering of the cards available in one of the two red decks. Jim, just off the top of your head, any idea how much we've got repeated in terms of the cards in here that are in here multiple times?
Ooh, there's not that much.
There's not a lot.
There's not a lot. Sebastian wanted a whole lot of different capabilities. So we actually, from what he originally
Are we sure Sebastian's not just using disinformation operations to tell us that?
Could. He didn't have all the cards. And he's like, boy, we can't do this in production. I was like, why not? And he's like, you'll put all the cards in? And he's like, sock it to me, baby. And more cultural reference for old people. And
it's Wargamers, man. We're all old.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's 144 for each deck. And honestly, to the credit on a lot of the layout and cards, Jacob Walker did the guy who did the cover art did a fabulous job with the layout and making everything really clear.
Defensive cyber. All right, so that's just a smattering of one of the two red decks. Let's see what we got for some blue decks here. All right, so you said no acronyms, and there's the Anglico guys right there. And everybody's going to think this is something to do with the British.
It doesn't?
The Anglico is the Air Naval Gunfire Liaison Coordinator. Right. So these are the guys that call in offshore naval gunfire support and aviation in support of the guys on the ground.
Did they do it in an English accent?
I mean, if they don't want to be understood on the radio, maybe they could.
Okay.
So influence operations. We've got humanitarian operations. We've got what we're not using in here, which is the combat camera guys. We do have the U-2 recon. Don't know if they're playing elevation while they're flying up there or not. That's a more recent musical reference.
There you go.
You got that. Again, acronymitis, the MARSOC Halo. The false death notifications.
Actually, as Americans, it's really hard to avoid acronyms and abbreviations.
TLAs everywhere. So, Helo anti-submarine warfare, another TLA for you. What else we got in here? MUX unmanned again. TLAs everywhere. Some of these cards are glaring a little bit. And it's because we got the studio lights in here to try. We closed the curtain so we wouldn't roast in the sunlight that's coming sideways into the hotel at this point. But that meant we turned the Clegg lights on to try and get some lighting in here. Now we feel like we're in a German POW camp. And,
on the cards, the other thing, I mean, you guys probably saw that they're all different colors. Again, with the color blindness, some of the other stuff, they've got different symbols in the upper corner, which also differentiates. So you can sort your hand that way.
So, yeah, so the green's got the compass on there. The blue has the little globe that's in effect. The yellow has the little missile munition. It's an unmanned. Is that a UAV? Oh, that's supposed to be, or is that a missile?
High altitude balloons.
Well, no, I got that. I'm talking about the icon.
Oh, I thought it was just
some sort of plane.
Yeah.
All right, and then we've got a boom. Things go boom.
And amazingly, high altitude balloons was in here before the accidental weather balloons started flying over the United States from China.
You know they've been doing that for years.
Yes.
Okay. So you knew and you didn't tell anybody.
I know.
This guy. No. Okay, that's our one blue deck that we've opened. We've got another blue deck. You get the idea, right?
And the other deck.
The other deck.
The plastic is not cooperating. Is
an event deck. So we can do things. All right, so some of these events, these are not events.
Oh.
Those are additional cards for the blue and red decks.
Yes, they are.
We'll get there in a second. Okay, so.
Oh, they're cool cards like ballistic missile defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the event cards, these are different per scenario, right? The scenario specify, here's when an event card comes up, or do these things and an event card happens. And so there's one of your events. So mission kills. And so we're looking at whenever a naval unit suffers an HP loss, roll a die. And then it gives you what those specific damage factors are that happened to that naval unit. One of our other events, there we go. We've got the planning JCC acronyms, dude. Acronyms.
We tried.
Yeah. All right. So this gives you an example of what's going on for those different events. Now, again, these are fairly well randomized. They don't just pop up in every scenario, but when they do pop up, you're going to pull a random event. Bad things will happen to you. Whether you go sliding in the mud or monsooning, or somebody becomes an international pariah, which will be us after this video probably, or whether we're doing night operations, or hey, why not the fleeing masses, which is kind of what the exhibit hall looked like at 6 o'clock tonight.
Yes, it did.
So,
and being banned from countries isn't a bad thing. I'm up to like 9.
Is this one of them?
No, not yet.
That's
not yet.
Canadians
don't like me. I blame Canada.
I thought that was just sort of normal at this point.
That was a cultural reference. The one thing that is not on the board with pieces that has to be kept track of separately, because they're hidden and they're under the water, are the submarines. So we provided submarine trackers that let you designate which sub it is and its location. Subs and torpedoes and everything subs do are kind of deadly, unless you find the sub first and then they die horribly.
One of the challenges that you run into, and we've talked about this on some of our podcast episodes, one of the challenges you run into with submarines is, 3D operations that go below the map are very tough to put on a flat 2D map. You can sort of fake your way through some aircraft on a 3D map, particularly if you have some little lifter stands or something, but it's really tough to like drill a hole in the table and drop the sub underneath the map. So you got to sort of wing it a little bit for that. All right. So players get aided in the form of a sequence of play. So this gives you what you're doing in order, gives you those different core actions. On the back, it also gives you sort of some special effects there and the layout of what's going on with your counters and all the different information that are on them. So scoot that over so you can see a little better. So there you are with your unit your player aid. And one of the things, again, remember this was originally built as a professional training tool that's been commercialized. So your sequence of play right up here starts. You got your planning, deployment, action, initiative check, victory check. So again, look, this isn't a perfect model of what a military planning sequence looks like, but it does force a particular procedure on the players that is a very deliberate process as a part of going through all of this stuff. Howdy, Jeff. Hope you're doing okay tonight. John, hope you're doing okay tonight. We've got what, 4 of these things that are all the same for the player aids?
There are 3 player aids.
There are 3 player aids. Okay, but they're all identical.
Yes, all identical. And then the last bits of components, sir.
Oh boy, here comes the fun stuff. We need to get that guess first.
Oh, red, white, then blue. So we should probably start with the red.
Okay, we'll start with the red. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so first of all, the backside, it's all the same bad guy iconography. But here we are for our red up close and personal. So there are some of your counters. Again, apologize for the glare on some of these things. We got some Klieg lights going on in here just to try and light the room. A little bit of the glare you're getting is just coming off of our screen here as well.
And my forehead.
I wasn't going to say it,
And
man. I was trying to be polite.
Okay.
So, so what you've got, you've got a variety of land units up here. You've got a handful of different sort of mounted units, and then you've got your naval forces down below. And then these down here are different task forces that have different task force names that you can see on there. So those are named based on sort of where they're coming from. You also have the subs, so you can sort of stealthily sub your way around the
if you get
room.
spotted. Does it have the mill deck, the military deception ones on that one there?
Oh, let's take a look. This one, there's some proxies, but it does not appear that the deception cards are on here. So we do have some ISR levels, so those do play a factor. ISR is intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. So those do play a factor in the target acquisition process, sort of identifying who it is out there and where they are and what they are so that you know what you can go shoot. And then we've got, I'm sorry for.
Yeah, mill deck.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
My mistake. So there's your mill deck markers up there. These are the military deception markers.
It's why on the back everything is the same, so that you've got pieces out there that can bluff location so that the other side doesn't automatically know where you're at. They move just like regular pieces. You can shoot them, but you hit them. There wasn't anything there.
There might not have been anything there. There might be something there.
A lot of dead fish now.
It could be.
So, and then we got the Amerikanskis.
Here comes some blue dudes. So again, keep in mind, we're looking out to the future based on the U.S. Marine Corps Force Design 2030, not 3030, 2030, that, look, there's no tanks. There's no tanks, man. Come on, there's no tanks.
A lot of missiles, though.
I know, but the guy that used to work on tanks wants to make tanks go boom. All right, so again, land forces across the top. We do have, what do we got? We got some more mill deck dudes in here, so there's still some more deception stuff available to you. We do have a variety of boats, no aircraft carriers. Sorry, we're not that cool. And then across the bottom, we do have some task force markers here for the blue, just like we did for the red. And your different ISR pieces. There are a couple of stray red pieces on the card here. Sorry. And then across the back, we've just got that same blue iconography we had everywhere else. So with all of that stated, I know that went kind of quick-ish. We're about 30 minutes in. Honestly, we thought we were going to go a little bit further on that or a little faster than that. But we lost 5 minutes futzing around with our overheating.
Yeah, that's okay.
Our overheating high-tech overhead camera thingy. So with all of that, questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, obscene remarks, what do we got? We'll give it a second to let you guys actually type, because that was a big problem we had at Connections Online, is that Merle would say, any questions? And then when nobody had some spring-loaded ready to go, he'd immediately start shutting down the video, and we don't want to do that.
I got one for you before they come in. So since it's your game, and the worry when you purchase a game is how are the component quality, you good with this? Are the cards quality and all that?
I am happy. The cards are nice quality. They're good thickness. And then, again, you guys saw me futzing around with them. They do slide fairly well as you have to move them around. The cards aren't sticking together, but the stack, we'll angle the camera down here. The stack is also not just sliding over and falling apart as it sits here. So these are going to slide nicely without just falling all over the table. The counters are as thick as any other counters you're ever going to see, for most war game quality components. Gary, you will not have to clip this one. If you look up close, they're all pre-rounded corners and all separately cut. So there's no nibs between the counters. So Gary, that is not one that's likely to appear on the Ardwolf counter clipping stream on a Monday night. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, the cards are nice. The only complaint that I'm going to have in all of this is the maps are very colorful. Very colorful. I know. If that's the only complaint you got.
Yeah.
But
and that was done intentionally. We debated.
Well, yeah, I don't
making
think
it
you accidentally
aesthetic.
spilled paint on them or
No,
something.
it's so that you can be standing 10 feet away, 8 feet away while you're talking and know exactly the terrain you're dealing with.
Yeah. So the question I saw on there pop up from Meandering Mike, we're gonna go ahead and actually pull a couple of these up on screen. Printed by Blue Panther. No, this is not a Blue Panther production. This is not a print on demand game. Jim got pallets of these things hung up in customs.
4 tons. 4 tons.
Yeah. That's not an exaggeration or a rhetorical turn of phrase. It was actually 4 tons of cardboard dropped at his house the other day.
We've posted images on the foundation Facebook and Twitter to show 4 tons of games that's a lot.
Yes, John, the counter density, again, it is 2 counter sheets. There's not a ton of counters on the map at any one time. Much of the action is dealt with through the use of those cards that are going to change the situation as you go. But you will still need a decent amount of table space because even though there aren't a lot of counters on the map, all of them have their separate tracking cards sitting off on the side where you're maintaining a record of your ammo and logistics pieces as a part of that. So the table footprint is still a bit larger, even though the maps aren't real big and the counter density isn't very high. I think that's a fair statement. Right?
Yeah, I think if you have a dining room table, it's
you're going to fill a normal dining room table.
Ping pong table, but you'll have extra room if you've got a ping pong table.
Yeah, but if you've just got one of those 4-foot square folding card tables, it's probably not going to fit there. So, yeah, so there's not even a whole lot of stacking allowed in the game, so that's not as big of an issue. But yeah, that is definitely
you stack up and your stack will get slammed, especially out at sea with stuff like the minefields and some of that stuff. Yeah, you clump up and bad things can happen.
Yeah. So, so again, we got 2 counter sheets. We got a lot of cards. There are, as you unshrink wrap things, there are 5 separate decks of cards in shrink. There's 2 red stacks that will combine into a single deck, 2 blue stacks that will combine into a single deck. And then the event cards are their own much, much smaller deck. As you are looking to repackage this thing in the box, you're not going to need a ton of counter trays. 1 counter tray is going to be plenty, and you're probably only going to use about half of that. Quite frankly, this one probably fits in maybe 1.5 of those dollar store little hardware cases that a lot of us use for the counter trays. So you probably fit a lot of it in not a ton of space there. The maps are all going to fit in the box without a whole lot of problem folding and unfolding. Those guys come and go pretty nice. And it is a reasonably thick stock that it's not something that feels like it's just going to tear real quick. It's not Tyvek, but it's more than just basic paper, right?
Yeah, no, it's as thick as you can get before it starts to become called a mounted board.
Yeah. So these are pretty thick things. These aren't like the old SPI quad maps or something that are kind of falling apart after you fold and unfold a few times. So, any other questions on this game? Because we've got something else to show you guys here, but we're just curious before we move on to that if there were any other questions on this. And while you guys type madly and hope for the best, I'm taking a drink of water because it's warm around here.
You can finally start feeling the air conditioning.
Yeah, it took them a few minutes to get there, but
I guess here's one. If you're a gamer who sleeves the cards are basically magic card. So whatever that standard size is, we want the standard sleeve size. But I can tell you that once you get the game, if you sleeve your cards, you're going to need a second box of some sort to put everything. I think sleeves are going to push this well past the limit.
Jim, this is a very important question for you.
Is the game available in Canada? Yeah, it should be. For people who didn't order it directly, it should be available through your retail store, should be able to get it through their distributors. So that should not be a problem. There are still copies at the foundation. You can order it directly. And we charge, we don't charge too much for international. Canadian orders go out US Postal because I know that UPS does bad things to packages sent into Canada with extra fees.
Okay. If someone designs their own scenario for this, is there a scenario repository somewhere?
We started a discussion board where it's easy for me to put updates about production on this on something called Freeboard. And so if you go do a search for Littoral Commander Freeboard, you'll see a discussion forum. It's free. There's no cost. So that I would really like to see people as they create scenarios, post them there. Because I think that if you post them in other places, they'll get lost. It becomes a place where discussion's easier and it is moderated.
You guys all know what's coming next, right? You guys all know what I'm about to say. We have a forum at the Armchair Dragoons. We would have been happy to give you a space to work with.
I did not know that. Well, perhaps we should discuss that later.
We probably should, and not on a discussion board, but like over a beer. But yeah,
that's doable.
We've got somewhere we can do that for you.
Oh, that would be outstanding.
Yeah,
and moderated,
and moderated,
and moderated.
What do you think I spend half my time dealing with? No, we've actually got some very good moderators that.
Oh, so that was a rhetorical question.
A little bit, yes, but I don't want you answering that on camera. I mean, come on, seriously. All right, so we didn't plant this question with John here, but
I know there's follow-up games, and it seems like an easy format to expand with maps and cards. I hope it takes off. Oh, it's taken off. We rocked ourselves through about 80% of the print run before sending it to anybody. So that I've already had to start the process of a reprint for Indo-Pacific. So, and there will be a sequel available for pre-order shortly.
That's actually on screen. They're seeing that.
Yes, indeed it is. That will be the second Littoral Commander from Sebastian. And the rules will basically be the same. So if you know one, you'll immediately be familiar with the second, hence the Littoral Commander on both.
Yeah.
But this is going to be different in I shouldn't say a lot of ways, multiple ways. The Marine Corps uses a different table of organization for their force that is available for Europe. And that's going to be the emphasis here. Because it's Europe and you've got a lot more land and potential European allies and opponents have better access to rail. And it's going to change some of the logistics involved, as well as the capabilities of the opponent, which, let's face it, is the Russians.
Slightly different shade of red.
Yeah, and so that the Russians and their supply and how they fight will be different in this, so that you're going to have to apply different concepts and tactics when dealing with them. Likewise, when you're playing the Russians, you have to realize they've got a different perspective on war, and that has to be taken into account with their weapon systems.
Yeah. So part of that actually goes back to a comment that showed up a little earlier. So Jim Vargas was throwing a bouquet at us here. Those of you that know much about kind of how red teaming works and the different approaches you can take to red teaming, we had a whole virtual professional conference on that last week as we were recording this with the Connections Online conference. This was the third of the Connections Online conferences that we've done. This year's theme was on red teaming. And for those of you that didn't attend, it's going to be about another week or two after we're done sort of just double checking all the videos, making sure nobody said anything they weren't supposed to, that we're going to make those public so people that weren't able to attend and participate live will still get the benefit of seeing those videos. And you'll see some talk about red teaming, including one that talks very heavily about the Russians and sort of how they do things. Those of you that were there, remember that it was Nate and Tim Barrick that were doing the presentation. Those of you that weren't, so Tim Barrick is the guy that designed the OWS system that is used at Quantico and at some of the other places. It is a professionally focused operational wargaming system. His brother, Nate, is a former Army officer who now works with the Marines, but is a very rare Army officer in that he was actually embedded in a Russian formation in the Balkans back in the 90s during the Kosovo missions. So this guy's worked literally in a Russian unit headquarters, speaking Russian with these guys all day. And so when it comes to some insight on Russian operations, Russian actions, he's one that can provide some of that in a red teaming perspective. And that's part of what he shared with us at Connections Online 2023. So you'll see some of those videos start to go live over the next, it'll probably be about a week and a half from now that they start, and we'll get them out as often as we can vet them. So that's what you've got there.
I'm going to add one more thing with the Baltic one.
All right.
For people, you guys have already probably purchased Indo-Pacific. Baltic is likely to be a little bit more expensive on the pre-orders. Even if the retail price stays relative, no, the retail price will go up. What's going to wind up happening is I've talked with Sebastian, and because of the popularity of the game, I'm going to raise the price probably $10 a game, but that money is not going to go to the foundation or my vacation to Rio or anything like that. That money is going to be set aside, starting with Littoral Commander Baltic, about $10 a game to create a scholarship fund for military personnel, most likely Marines initially, who are separating and are looking for college money. So we're going to try and set up a scholarship fund for Marines looking to go to college and become teachers.
Cool. And that's part of what the Dietz Foundation does. I mean, that's the reason it's the Dietz Foundation and not like Dietz Games LLC is that you're a nonprofit organization that does a variety of these kinds of charitable things. So it's not just, hey, here's some games, let's go play. I mean, it's an educational foundation. That's your shtick. Right. That's not just playing games. So we do have, so Mike, I'm going to come back to your question here in just a second. I'm going to start with Jim's just while Littoral Commander Baltic is still on here. And this probably applies to Indo-Pacific as well. Terrain and weather effects. Obviously, there's some terrain effects, right? We got a terrain effects chart built onto the map, and that's part of the reason for the very colorful maps. Weather effects?
I believe weather's on one of the event cards. Oh, yeah. Monsoon. All aviation grounded.
Okay.
So it can depend. So it can wind up that everything happened at night, so you need night operations. Sea state from impending storm. So yeah, they're in here.
Yeah. All right. So Mike's got a question specifically for you about Free at Last here.
I need to download the Free at Last update, but the website wants to charge me. Say what? It's charging you $10 for shipping on that? Okay, so it shouldn't. Obviously, I'm with Brant right now, and then I'm going to go eat dinner and sit in a hot tub. The hot tub's not with Brant. Okay, Julie? No. So if you send an email to the foundation, I will tonight look and see what's going on with our commerce module. We updated it, and there are a couple glitches with it, honestly. So I'll go in and fix that. If you send me the email, we'll solve it easy in your case. Send me the email, and I will email the rules update to you directly. Well, I hope that works.
Okay, there, Hot Tub Commander.
There we go.
All right. So that was the unboxing of Littoral Commander Indo-Pacific. You got an advanced look at what is the current proposed artwork for the cover of Littoral Commander Baltic, but more importantly, you now know what's coming next. So even though the art might change some, I don't think we're planning on changing the game. Like no, it's still going to be Baltic.
And Jacob Walker, the artist who I love working with, he's in the middle of like 3 different projects, but he knew I was coming out here for this. Jacob actually took 2 days of time to create that cover. So I'd have something to show out here to people and put on the website. And so when we start taking pre-orders, and Jacob's not a military guy, so he created that based off some recommended images that Sebastian gave him. So it's not at the point of being correct yet, but it was meant to look cool and show people that, hey, this is coming.
Yeah. And again, while the cover art may change, the game underneath it is still going to be Littoral Commander Baltic. And because we're not going to like change that to Horn of Africa or something. I mean, we're
No,
going to stick with the Baltic.
it's the Baltic.
Yeah.
That's what's being play tested right now.
Yeah. So with all that said, we're out here at GAMA Expo, and the expo out here is, again, this is a very B2B retailer focused sort of thing. Quite frankly, not a lot of war game folks here. We got him, we got Fort Circle Games, and Aries is here.
Okay.
Aries Games is here, and Aries does have a pretty good table display. They've got one table display with like War of the Ring kind of stuff. They've got one table display that's got a whole row of pretty decent games. There's the English Civil War game, whose name is totally escaping me right now. It's this enemy of mine or something like. There's We're Coming Nineveh, Saigon 75. Fitna is on there. So all the ones that Aries distributes for Nuts Publishing, we're all on one table together. I got a picture. It'll be in the coverage that I'm doing daily from here. So we do have the Aries guys. Dietz is here. Fort Circle's tucked way back in the back of the hall. They're focusing on votes for women because that's the cool, hot new game. But they are also, sending some orders out for Shores of Tripoli. And there's a ton of great dice companies in it, but they ain't a lot of war game companies. And look, are we going to sell 500 copies of Case Blue by bringing them to GAMA Expo? No. But you know what? If you want war games in your local game stores, we got to get the war game companies to show up to this thing even more than something like Origins, because GAMA Expo is the one where there's 340 odd something. There's over 300 game stores that are here at the expo walking around looking for stuff to buy.
It's way more than 300.
Yeah.
It's way more than 300.
So I think it's north of 400, and the math on this works out this way. There are 340 sets of retailer appreciation boxes that they're having people go to these different retailer presentations in order to be eligible for the boxes, where the publishers are telling the retailers about what's coming up for the next year. They've got 340 retailer appreciation boxes, and they know that not all the retailers are going to get them. So there's north of 400 game stores represented here, placing orders with publishers and distributors to get the games that they're going to be stocking over the next year. So if you want to see war games in your local game store, part of what you got to do is hound those publishers to show up here to sell the stuff to those 400 game stores all across the country to try and get them on the shelves in their stores. Now, you also got to encourage your friends to go show up and buy them. You maybe, grab a table some Saturday afternoon and set up a game and see if you can get some players to show up. All those other things got to happen also. But this is the expo where the business behind the scenes actually happens. And there's no war gamers here, guys. They have abdicated entirely at this conference, and that's annoying.
However, speaking of that, since this is Armchair Dragoons and Brand I met in person last year at Origins, look, show up at the game cons, and if you want to help play, Brant and a few supporters are trying to have bunches of tables of more serious historical games, and there's a shortage of GMs and people wanting to sit down and teach people. For my other profession beyond education, I coach women's volleyball, and one of the philosophies USA Volleyball has is grow the game, and that has resulted in a massive increase in the number of young people, boys and girls, who play volleyball because there's a concentrated effort grow the game. In terms of gaming, with board games and history games and war games, it's the same thing. I think it's really important that you can learn so much as a kid and a young person: geography, military, negotiations, interpersonal relations. Heck, you can learn math from counting odds tables, multiplication, adding factors, whatever. But the only way to keep the hobby growing is to get involved and get those people playing.
Yeah.
There are a whole lot of people out there that love war movies. Well, they just released the preview for the Joaquin Phoenix Napoleon movie.
Kitbag. Yeah,
and you can see 50,000 likes of this. People want to know more about this Napoleonic, and they fought in the wintertime. What battle could that have been? And I'm like, yeah, okay, you don't know your history. They want to learn, but you got to start somewhere, and that really takes people volunteering. We could use somebody to run Littoral Commander at Origins.
So I'll tell you, the whole what do we do with wargaming is its own 2-hour show minimum. And a lot of the folks watching have probably heard a lot of this speech before. That there's a lot that we can do to get us as players involved in a variety of different ways. in the wargaming hobby from the player side of things. And we've talked about those before, and I'm sure we'll talk about them again, especially around Origins. One of the key things for this particular conference and this particular setting in which we find ourselves on this trip is this is where the business side of things happen. This is where your wargame publisher can go from selling 300 or 400 copies on a pre-order or direct sales to the wargamers to possibly selling 600 or 700 or 800 copies of things because they get it into the stores. And that's the main lesson, I think, to take away from what's happening here at GAMA Expo is that we don't have enough of the wargame folks here trying to put their stuff into stores. And it's disappointing. It's a little disheartening. I've been introducing myself to everybody all week long as I'm the black sheep of the media crew here because I'm the only piece of wargaming media here.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's actually true.
We do cover more than just war games at the Dragoons. You guys have seen that. But I'm the only wargame media guy here at all. And so that's a little bit, I'm having fun talking to a lot of other people about cool stuff, you know, and the Black Oak Workshop guys are here. So it's always fun to hang out with them and check out their new dice. But I'm talking to a lot of people that don't do war game stuff just to have somebody to talk to. So we do have one last game question here, and then we're going to call it a night. So how complex would you say the system is to learn? I think it's like, you know, a 30-ish minute learning curve to get started.
When Sebastian designed this was really designed to be explained to non-gamers within 15 to 20 minutes so they could begin playing, play for 2 hours, and then debrief so that it could be used for professional military education. So that when we showed earlier the cards and like the units on the screen, when I said, let's see, what
yeah,
the numbers up in the corner with big number and little number, it really is as simple as roll under the big number, you hit, the opponent takes 1 point of damage, and the little number is the range away. That's as simple as it goes. And on your turn, your command gets to take 3 actions from the list on the cards. When you've taken your 3 actions, your opponent takes their 3 actions, boom, done. Okay, next turn. That's 3 per command, but you get the idea. It's very simple to play, and we made sure that the rules are simple and quick. If you have the rules in front of you, you can learn very quickly.
Yeah. So, you know, again, because the genesis of this was putting it in front of non-gamers, not just non-war gamers, but non-gamers of any kind, it had to be something you could pick up and run with very fast. Now, to pick up all the nuances, to understand all the different kinds of card interactions, like that's going to take a lot of gameplay to really get. But to be able to open the box, read a couple of pages, and start pushing counters around is going to go really quick because it had to for its original intended purpose.
I think if there's going to be a delay on playing, it's going to come from the decks of cards because you have this many cards, and what's going to happen is you're going to go, ooh, what does this do? Ooh, look at this. What does this do? Ooh, let me see it. And so you're going to have this natural delay of looking through the goodness and going, oh my gosh, what should I do?
What's going to end up happening? Let's all be honest here. What's going to end up happening is you're going to unbox the game. It's going to take you about as long as it took us to unbox it. So about 30-ish minutes to like open it all up and take a look. And then you're going to spend the next 4 hours reading cards.
They're all cool.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. You're going to spend the next 4 hours reading cards. So, all right, listen, we're running out of time because they're going to lock us out of the studio here in a minute. So we definitely appreciate the dozen or so of you guys that tuned in. Really appreciate y'all being here. I'm not sure when or if we're going to do another live stream from the show just because the studio space is a little constrained for time. We're also running out of things to show, right? Because we just got this thing. But we do appreciate you guys being here. Those of you that took an interest, anybody watching this after the fact, thank you for sitting through this. You know, if you were smart, you did on like 1.5x speed, so you didn't have to look at us for as long. But we do appreciate y'all being here, suffering through the little technical glitch of the cool overhead camera thingy fritzing out on us. But again, you know, like we can't thank you guys enough for being here and supporting the channel and supporting wargaming as a whole. And you know, if you haven't already bought a copy of the game from Jim, go do that now. So that
while they last,
so we don't have to. Yeah, we don't want to have to hound you for too many more. But start paying attention. We'll let you know well in advance of when Littoral Commander Baltic is coming. But be ready. Have the wallets fully loaded for that when it rolls around. And cool. Like we will see you guys at Origins for sure. We got Origins countdown articles starting this coming week. We next time you see us on camera, it might be from Buckeye Game Fest. We'll have to see, depending on what Gary's doing from there. But otherwise, have fun slinging your dice. Look forward to everybody getting their copies and coming and chatting with us over at the Dragoons forums or on our Discord or pretty much anywhere else. And you know, let's have a little bit of fun playing with this game some. Thanks everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
See you later. Thanks for having me, Brant.
You bet.